Hello and welcome to The Rabbit Hole, the Definitive Developers Podcast. Living large in New York. I'm your host, Michael Nunez, and today we'll be talking about mastering the art of closure, conquering whips in life and work. So I'm not alone today. I have a special guest with me who came up with this idea and this topic, and I really wanted to hear him out and kind of dig through it, make sense of it. It'll make sense pretty soon. I have Brian Lamb with me. How's it going, Brian?
It's going well. How are you doing, Bobby?
I'm doing all right. So yeah, you messaged me one time. I was like, hey, I have a topic, but this is going to be crazy left field. Would you like to listen to it? And I was like, yes. Brian, tell us a little bit about yourself and some of the context of how we got here.
Yeah. So I'm a lead software developer here at Stride. Recently became a father about a month and a half ago. So I've had a lot of time to think, and honestly, not a lot of time to do things. Just think, right? Think like those late nights feeding the baby. You can't do anything. All your hands are occupied, but you're just thinking about stuff. So,
right.
One thing I haven't been able to do is do a lot of cooking or do a lot of frequent cooking. So I started doing meal prepping. Right. I don't know if it's still all the rage. Was all the rage. Thought it was great. Spend one part of the week cooking a lot of stuff, chicken, broccoli, green beans, kind of the basic meal prepping stuff. And it dawned on me, right? So I'm eating the chicken one day. It's been like a week and a half. Actually, I don't really know how long ago I cooked it. Right?
It's been too long, but you have chicken in your plate and now you're just like, I got to eat it.
It's been so long. The microwave has eliminated all flavor from it. I don't quite even remember what sauces I put on it. And so it's going through my mind. I'm like, will I get sick from eating this? Should I just throw it away?
Yeah.
Right.
And I think the idea of like meal prep, first and foremost, congratulations on being a new dad. I can relate with you in the idea that like your body is occupied with sustaining a newborn, but your brain will still go through these really wild mind exercises, which I think is awesome. So how did you kind of plug in meal prepping with kind of like the agile framework and the work in progress issue?
Yeah. So again, I'm eating the chicken and I'm just thinking like, I'm looking at my plate of like the green beans, the chicken, the broccoli, and I'm like, how long have each of these things been in my fridge, right? Each of these individual items. Before having a baby, I would be the typical, like, I cook something, I eat it for 1 day, 2 day, whatever. I get it out of my fridge, I cook something new, right? Cook it, get it done, cook something else. So this is kind of a change of mindset. And I'm thinking, what's on my plate? How does this meal prepping relate to work in progress, right? Something that we try to eliminate all the time in our day-to-day work.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking like each of these items is something that's in progress, a piece of work. Every day you eat a little bit of each, but honestly, they stay in your fridge a long time and then they actually become legit waste.
Right. And then I think you called out something, right? The fact that you have a cooked meal or many cooked meals is like in your in progress swim lane because you're in progress of eating and consuming all this food that you cooked. And then I guess we'll have to talk about what is the definition of done in meal prepping. As you mentioned, it is when you finish it, right?
Yeah, I mean, because I went through this thought as well. It's like maybe the definition of done is being cooked, right? But you think about it some more, right? Your definition of done is how much value you're delivering.
Right.
Is it valuable that it is cooked but not eaten? I don't think so, right? It hasn't given me the nutrients. It hasn't given me the calories that I want to get out of it. So I think the definition of done is I've eaten it, right?
Right. And I think even to highlight that, it's meal prepping a meal, but then not eating it and potentially throwing it out, is waste, right? It's waste for food.
For sure.
And when we are designing software, the idea of like false feature rich, right? The fact that like a user may not have asked for a feature, but like you implemented it anyway, and then it doesn't get any use, and then it gets cut later on in life, right? That's the thing you run into when you meal prep, but then don't finish the food.
Yeah, I mean, like, so, I started thinking about like, why do we eliminate WIP, right? That's kind of my thought, right? Why do we eliminate WIP in our day-to-day? And why don't I want to eliminate it in my meal prepping, right? In our day-to-day work, right, we eliminate it to eliminate waste, right? Eliminate context switching, right? Switching from one task to another. Like you said, right? If everything's in progress, you don't really know how much you're going to deliver. You don't know how much you want to iterate next time, how much you're going to plan for, what you're going to get in the future.
Right.
All those thoughts, I'm like, how does that relate to the meal prepping?
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, waste Here is literally throwing it in the waste bin.
Yeah. And I think that one would have to think about like, oh, how can I be less wasteful, right? Do you meal prep less so that you have less things to whip? Or do you go down the route, as you mentioned, you just cook the thing you know you're going to finish and continue doing that?
Exactly. And let's say I meal prep every Sunday, right? Ready for the week. If I still have that chicken from last Sunday in my fridge, I don't really know how much chicken I need to buy for this week, right?
Yeah.
Some things to think about. Upon like I'm looking into it more, right? Like why do we eliminate whip? That's kind of the question. Like why do I eliminate whip but not in my life, like meal prepping? Unplanned work often comes up, which can impact whip and cause whip. Totally true in my life, right? Unplanned work. Some nights I just don't want to eat the chicken, right? Some nights I want to go order delivery.
Yeah.
And, some days for lunch, it's like, do I want chicken again?
Yeah.
Right?
Like, oh man, I had that yesterday. Like
I had that yesterday three times.
Yeah. I could go for something different. Let's order Italian, right? And then you kind of go and get spaghetti or something.
Exactly. And it just pushes that chicken still into whip, keeps it in a whip.
Yeah. And I think unplanned work could also be like, I think in the case of meal prepping, that kind of unplanned work can go down in like discipline, right? Like we can just finish the chicken if we really wanted to, but I fall under that as well, where it's like, but I can order a pizza. I would like a pizza today. But then like the unplanned work could be like, hey, you had to step away from your house for some time. Say you had to go, or here's one unplanned. You have a newborn in the house. Some people come over to visit you and they bring food. Then what? Then you got like all this food in your house that you have to eliminate. Then you have to kind of like prioritize them. Like, oh, do I eat this because I cooked it first before you brought yours? But it's bread, so it's going to get stale faster. Like, there's all these different calculations you have to do.
And then, one thing that I've started trying to do is like, maybe I'll just eat more. Right? Maybe I'll eat my meal prep and what they cooked. So I'm eating like 2 portions at once just to try to get it all out.
Yeah.
And that has other consequences, right? I starting to get that newborn dad belly going.
Yeah. I'll tell you right now, it's very hard to get rid of, A, but B, it's very easy to carry your child when you have a gut because then they just kind of sit
on it.
Right on it, and it's nice and comfortable for everybody. GL used to love falling asleep on my fat, and then I haven't found an excuse to lose it, so I still have it. But yeah, you got to be careful with that and make sure, like, I guess if you have any leftovers and you're trying to eat in portion 2 meals at a time, make sure you got some greens in there is the idea.
Got that green beans and got the chicken and the broccoli. Balanced meal. Got a little bit of rice. It's balanced, right? I cooked it for a purpose, right? And I think that at the end of the day, right, like, the thing that I came to, right? Why do we want to eliminate whip in the workplace and maybe not always apply that into the life? There's just different trade-offs you have to make, right? I don't have time to cook every night. Cooking for me, my wife, not cooking for the baby, but cooking for us too, right? I don't have time to cook every night. I don't have time to cook maybe even every other night, right? It's just nonstop baby caring for her. So there's that trade-off.
Yeah.
Do it all up front. Take a few hours one day, eat for a week and a half, however long.
Yeah, and I think like the idea of I imagine this is very similar to, now I'm curious if it's considered a whip or is it considered like sprint planning? Because it's like, okay, we're going to eat all these things and the chicken is 3 points. The green beans is 1 point, so we got to get another green in there. Let's put broccoli in there for 1 point. That'll last us 9 points, and we'll finish the sprint at that end. But then it's like, oh, some things, you can't really carry over chicken that's old, right? Eventually, it's going to get bad. And that's where it becomes wasteful, which I imagine is like, there's some nuance here with like, what is it, whether it's a sprint plan or whether it's kind of like you dealing with work in progress food. I just think it's hilarious that we are talking about food and meal prepping in the same way that we would for tickets on a Trello board. I think it's hilarious.
But that's how I see it, right? Like sprint planning is an apt metaphor. Each of these are tickets, right? How long it takes to finish the chicken doesn't necessarily apply to how long it takes to finish the broccoli.
Yep, exactly.
you might not have cooked A, as much broccoli, or B, whatever, right? So, and maybe I'm not doing it right. I don't have those meal prep Tupperware things, right? Like the little boxes where you can put little things. I just put a Tupperware of chicken and put Tupperware of broccoli, right?
Yeah.
And I scoop a little bit of this, scoop a little bit of that.
You make your plate and then you go and you microwave it and
Exactly.
You do that for a week and a half until you ask yourself, am I eating chicken or am I eating freezer burn chicken?
Yes. Yeah. And then it's time for the trash. Time for it to be waste. And then at that point, why did I even do it?
And then you feel bad. You order out. You kind of do this thing. Here's what I think we should ask, folks. If you have any really good meal prepping meals, feel free to send that in. Tweet me at Radio Free Rabbit. I'd be curious to know what meal prep related meals are out there that we could use. Because, we got to help you out, bro. You can't just be eating chicken, broccoli, and green peas. So.
Yeah, I need more recipes. I think I've made honey sesame chicken is very, very popular.
Yeah, I've
made like several honey sesame chicken recipes. They've all been good for like the first few days, and then sick and tired of it.
Sick and tired of it. I think the idea of looking at your meal prepping as in terms of like eliminating whip, again, there are some trade-offs to it, but just ensure that whatever you are cooking or delivering can be seen through or eaten at the end of the day. You don't want to, you want to eliminate waste, whether it's in the trash bin or in the workplace, to make sure that you're delivering delivering value to your users. In your case, it's your stomach and your wife's stomach.
Yes, exactly. Like waste is in the trash bin. Waste is the time that I spent if I don't eat it.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So all this is waste.
Yeah. Blam. I will do my best to get you some recipes. We need to get you some recipes. All right.
Appreciate it. I need some good ones to get me out of the chicken, broccoli, and green bean factory.
Follow us now on Twitter at Radio Free Rabbit so we can keep the conversation going. Like what you hear? Give us a 5-star review and help developers just like you find their way into the rabbit hole. And never miss an episode. Subscribe now however you listen to your favorite podcast. On behalf of our producer extraordinaire, William Jeffries, and my amazing co-host, Dave Anderson, and me, your host, Michael Nunez, thanks for listening to The Rabbit Hole.